lining up on the grid for this longer distance, 48 lap, 2 pit stop feature race. And it's India that have taken the first ever pole position for India in A1GP, thanks to Narain Karthikeyan's efforts in qualifying. But Great Britain alongside, thanks to Robbie Kerr, and Switzerland, the new champions, start in 3rd place, with Ireland alongside, courtesy of Adam Carroll. Germany well up on this grid in 5th position, with France next to them in 6th. Then South Africa and China. Very fast China, but can they make it count? USA and Netherlands on row 5, Portugal and Malaysia on row 6, then Canada and Brazil. The Czech Republic and Italy, New Zealand all the way down in 17th place, ahead of Pakistan, Australia, then Indonesia, Lebanon, and at the back of the grid is David Martínez of Mexico. Right, so as the build-up continues here to the start of the feature race, it's time for the national anthem to get proceedings underway.
Long live our noble Queen, God save the Queen. Send her victorious, happy and glorious, long to reign over us, God save the Queen. Oh, scatter her enemies and make them fall. Confound their politics, frustrate their knavish tricks. On thee our hopes we fix. God save us all.
And the national anthem sung by Theo Ray and Francesca Jackson, who were both featured on the I Do Anything talent show, and it was a very good rendition. So we have got the national anthem in a few moments' time. It'll be the chance to fire these engines up. A lot of patriotic support here for Robbie Kerr to see if he can do the double.
Yes, he has yet to do a double. He's won twice in the sprint race, 3 times in the Ireland, the sprint race. Never won a feature race, and he will want to sign out this part of A1GP history with a victory in the feature race.
Gentlemen, for the pride of your country, start your engine.
And it's Alain Prost who gets to call for the start of engines.
And of course, Alain Prost, back in 1985, went on to win his first of his 4 World Championships while driving for McLaren Tag with that Porsche engine in the back of the car. He won his first World Championship at a race here, Brands Hatch, in October of '85, and finished 4th in the race. And well, it was the beginning of what a great career for Alain Prost.
And it's great to see him here this weekend. Of his son Nicolas, of course, is rookie driver for this team, Team France, and he's done a good job for them throughout the year. But it's Franck Montagny who takes their hopes of holding on to 3rd place into this feature race at Brands Hatch. Up front, the blue and white colour of Team India. Incredible India, it says. Well, can they hold on to take their 2nd victory of this season? But look behind, it's Robbie Kerr for Great Britain, the most determined probably on the grid to try and take the double. And as you say, John, to try and win his first feature race. He's never done it. He's won sprint races, but he's never won the longer distance feature race. About to get the formation lap underway. And again, those V8 engines fire up and away they go.
And you've got an indication of what those cars on the right-hand side of the track have got to contend with. When they release the clutch and get the wheels spinning, the car wants to have the tail slide down the hill, the nose point up the hill, and it is always a mute point as to whether the best position for a standing start is on the right-hand side of the track or the left-hand side. Where Robbie Kerr is, the camber isn't quite so great. It might just give him that little bit of additional traction and momentum to get ahead of India into turn 1. But, you know, it'll be tight. He's prepared to go 2 by 2 round that corner if he has to do it to try and get the advantage off Paddock Hill Bend.
Well, there are the current points, and it's Switzerland champions already, of course, on 158 points. But Great Britain now in 3rd place on just 2 points ahead of France and 10 points behind New Zealand. That's the key. New Zealand 10 points ahead of Great Britain at the moment, but well outside a point-scoring position. So for Great Britain, there is a very big opportunity here. Now, 2 pit stops. First pit stop will come between laps 8 and 16. The second pit stop between laps 32 and 40.
And assuming everything falls to form, you're going to see a lot of cars coming in at the end of lap 8. And no doubt it'll be the front 3 or 4 cars that will be the first to visit the pits. For the rest of the field, it's a matter of whether they think it's worthwhile doing it at the same time, or maybe they can gain a little bit by staying out. We've seen some nations wait when the lead cars come in for that one extra lap to try and get a clear lap to get the benefit of a slightly quicker entry into the pit lane, and hopefully then they get that magic pit stop, which in itself will frequently see you gain track position. It's so easily done in the pit lane, but equally it's so easily lost in the pit lane.
Narain Karthikeyan leads them round. It's the first time India's been on the front row, let alone on pole position. They took their victory in Zhuhai in China from 3rd place on the grid. Some good pit stops helped them get there as well, but good driving from Karthikeyan. Everybody being quite aggressive to warm up their tyres. It's a fairly unabrasive circuit. Temperatures are reasonable, but certainly nothing like as hot and as humid as some of the venues we go to in A1GP.
No, but it will be a physical race. We've talked about it before. The G loads, the rise, the fall. There we see some of the team members of Team GBR catching themselves on screen. And it's one of those racetracks where you're accelerating up to a corner. Some of the corners are relatively low speed, but have got high G loads. Others here, like Clearways or Clark Curve, as it's now known, doesn't generate that high G load, but it's a long corner, a long exit on to that final start-finish straight.
The nervousness, anxiety at Team India as we prepare to see whether Narain Karthikeyan is going to be able to hold on to the advantage from qualifying, or will Robbie Kerr be brave and try and go around the outside of him into the first corner at Paddock Hill Bend. Cars beginning to slot into place. Watch for Neel Jani, the pressure of taking the championship off his shoulders, and now he can go for it. And certainly last year that helped Nico Hulkenberg on his way to take the final win of the season after a tremendous battle with Robbie Kerr.
Yeah, the field taking quite a long time to form up on the grid, which means that India and Great Britain, particularly in the front row of the grid, they're sitting there waiting, the engines just ticking over, all about ticking over is about 3,000 RPM before they will then finally select. Look at Malaysia, the way they've lined their car up to get a better run off that camber to minimise any amount of slippage that they'll get under acceleration.
We're all set for the final race of the season here at Brands Hatch. Red lights on, lights out, away we go, and India makes a great start from Great Britain and Ireland. Ireland getting well ahead of Switzerland as they head up towards Paddock Hill Bend, and Robbie Kerr certainly not close enough to run round the edge, but he's going to cut back up the inside into Druids. Karthikeyan shuts the door, and they're side by side as they go round the hairpin. Karthikeyan squeezing, he squeezes Kerr wide, and now Adam Carroll's got a chance.
There's a great danger, Robbie, being too ambitious very early on in the lap to try and get ahead of India will open up the opportunity for Ireland. Ireland now comes and has a look down the inside, pulls back as Robbie Kerr defends up the inside, knowing that if he does open the door, Ireland will put their foot in it.
Switzerland back to 4th place again, Germany in 5th place.
Brazil, what's the... Oh, he just keeps it off the barrier on the edge of Surtees.
And Adam Carroll attacking once again. Robbie Kerr. Oh, it's
contact, wheel to wheel contact. Now watch Ireland trying to get up the inside in to Westfield Bend, but the door again is closed.
Narain Karthikeyan still leading for India, but the battle behind him is intense between Great Britain and Ireland. You're looking back from the British car. Adam Carroll looking for every which way to get past.
And Neel Jani also at this race, just pulling slightly ahead of Germany in 5th place.
Germany, France, then China and South Africa, then the Netherlands following through in 9th place, USA in 10th, that's where they started. Malaysia in 11th place, then 12th for Portugal. Canada then behind them, followed by Italy, New Zealand, not making much progress, but a couple. 15th place for Jonny Reid of New Zealand.
Well, pretty testy first lap. India under pressure in turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, pretty much every corner. Now Robbie Kerr has decided, whoops, let's hold on here. We've got a long way to go in this race. I'm not going to win it in the first lap. If I'm cautious, I might get through to the end. Jonny Reid struggling back down through the field up to 15th place, but in a battle with the Czech Republic.
And he's just lost 2 places. He's been passed by the Czech Republic, he's been passed by Indonesia. They got him out of position. They're still fighting for position on themselves on the Cooper Straight. He's now being squeezed over as he runs up towards Sterling and Surtees. There's no way through there, and he's lost those places, so back goes New Zealand to 17th where they started the race.
Well, that's a huge disappointment for New Zealand. They're on the back foot, having to start all the way back in 17th position and trying to push his way through the field. Again, look at that. It's certainly Malaysia and Portugal battling for their position just outside the top 10 in 11th and 12th places.
Yeah, Malaysia aggressively to cut across there in front of Filipe Albuquerque, and Albuquerque's got Team Canada's James Hinchcliffe behind. Let's look at the start again.
Light goes out, good start on that heavily cambered side from India. Robbie Kerr follows straightly behind. It's Ireland, the one you've got to keep your eye on, looking to find a way down the inside, but Robbie Kerr late in the break. Ireland a little bit more cautious, just giving themselves room, but here's where the switchback goes. Challenge all the way into Druid, all the way around Druid. Look at Ireland trying to find a way to get down the inside as they come down the hill into Graham Hill Bend.
And then that was the replay of Brazil shooting out of the pack in the middle of the pack there. They are now running 22nd and last, and Lebanon in trouble.
We don't know what's happened to that. Suddenly we're seeing the Lebanese car looking for assistance.
He's been off, hasn't he? A lot of grass on the tyres. So whether he stalled it by having a spin somewhere, he's asking for a push, but of course he's heading back down towards Clearways there, I think, isn't he?
And the Brazil car comes into the pits. We didn't think there's any damage. Well, there is. The nose is damaged. You can see as they shake the car that the two drop parts of the nose that hold the wing, that has been damaged, so it's been taken off, a new one going on. But what happened to Khalil Bashir, we didn't get to see.
Well, it is up on the exit of Stirling's. There is a yellow flag at turn 8. That is on the exit of Stirling's, heading back down towards the Indy circuit here at Brands. These guys, these leaders, and Pakistan off as well. That's on the exit of Surtees. That's a strange place to go off.
Well, he's got nose damage. We now see who's this coming down the pit lane. It is Brazil, having had their new nose fitted, and the Pakistan car looks like it's not going to go an awful lot further unless Adam Khan can somehow get it fired up again and get back to the pits. There you can see Bashir's car, the Lebanese car, midway down the straight from Stirling's down into Clark.
A safety car has been scrambled. We're going to see the safety car out to slow the field down so that they can deal with two cars now that are in trouble. The Ferrari's on track. India, Great Britain and Ireland slow everybody down. Yellow flags around the track and safety car boards, and that means we're going to have to see what happens now. This is Australia. And there was contact on the straight, which spent the suspension immediately. Now, where did Australia end up as well?
Well, look at the damage. No wonder we had a safety car. We didn't see that live. There's the consequence of two cars. A very dangerous part of the racetrack. Remember, back in 1988, Jonny Herbert had a massive accident, did terrible damage to his feet, his ankles. There you can see the Pakistan. So big contact between two young drivers, Pakistan and Australia. And it'll be interesting to see which of the two thinks he was at fault.
Well, there is the Australian car, which we hadn't seen. It reminds me hugely of that accident you're talking about, John.
Almost up to the point of the racetrack.
Yeah, it is almost the same place. Thankfully, one of the cars didn't go rolling down the Armco barrier, and certainly the damage to the other one at the front, nothing like as bad as that Jonny suffered.
The problem now is, of course, there's a lot of carbon fibre shards on the track, the fastest part of the racetrack. Alan Jones looking at it, well, he's as shocked, I think, as everybody is, seeing the contact between Pakistan and Australia. His car's out, Pakistan's car's out, and wait until these two drivers get back. They may well have to make a visit to the race director at some point this afternoon to explain themselves.
So Team Brazil and, Team Australia rather, and Pakistan made contact at turn 8. Now that might have been earlier actually. There's another board up on our timing screen, so we'll check into that one. But there's Adam Cong. Good to see that he's out of the car. I think both drivers are okay. We haven't seen a shot yet of John Martin, but there was no one in the Australian car.
The contact between Pakistan and Brazil at turn 8, that must have occurred the lap prior to the contact between Pakistan and Australia. That was up at Stirling's Bend. But we now see Adam Khan walking back out of the car. That car will be taken back to the pits, and it'll be stripped down, the engine taken out, and where they're going to put the tub and the rest of it, well, I do not know.
Interesting that when they touched, the rear suspension on the Pakistan car broke almost instantaneously. Makes you wonder if it had already had an impact on that side.
Yes, we're getting reports that there was contact between Brazil and Pakistan. I mean, half a lap earlier. That had really nothing to do with what took place between Pakistan and Australia, but it may have had a suspension component weakened by that initial contact.
Well, we might be able to find out more. Let's go to Simon Hill in the pit lane. Simon.
Negrão from Team Brazil. That's what caused him to stop, and that's what caused Jani to go off.
Right, thank you very much. And Team Lebanon back into the race, right at the back of the field now. But of course, we've lost two cars in Pakistan and Australia. So Lebanon now running just in front of Mexico. Another look at this, John.
Yeah, but Australia was on the grass. Australia was on the grass as they came out of Surtees, and then the contact between the two cars, big impact on the right of the track, and then the Australia car hits almost the bridge, and Alan Jones, well, he's got a smile on his face, and he doesn't mind his racer as long as he's out there, he's out actually having a race. But it was unnecessary. The Australia car was well over to the left-hand side of the track, coming down the fastest part of the racetrack, and that contact between two immovable objects was inevitable.
Yeah, it's not been a fantastic season for Team Australia. They're 17th in the points. Not going to improve on that, obviously. I think they're pretty safe in that position, but they ain't going to score anything today after the damage done to the car. But John Martin out of the car, that's good news. Here we are riding with Team Ireland's Adam Carroll, and the leaders, of course, just having to keep their focus behind the safety car.
But they're on their 5th lap, and we were expecting to see the lead cars come in at the end of the 8th lap. Now I wonder, because they've got this safety car intervention, are we going to see a change of any of the team's strategy? Are they going to go a little bit deeper into that 8 to 16 lap window that we have as the first mandatory pit stop?
USA complaining, I gather, of some vibration on the car. We're trying to we have someone monitoring the radio communications, and they're complaining of some vibration on that car, so that's a bit of a worry for Team USA. Here at Brands Hatch, it's quite a tight pit lane, so when the safety car is out, they're not allowed to make their mandatory pit stop to change tyres, so they would have to wait anyway until the safety car was back in again.
Well, that won't have any bearing on the teams, because they've got fuel on board for the duration of the race, so it's just a question of sitting out there waiting for that safety car to return to the pit lane.
Right, so it's been a pretty bad day for Australia out of this race early on. Let's hear from Alan Jones.
Alan, it looked like there was some fairly colourful language coming from you then when you saw that. I don't blame you, really. What was your version of it?
A couple of idiots. I don't know. I mean, I looked at the replay, and I don't really know who to proportion the blame. I think it was both of them. I mean, they just seemed to come over on one another, a bit silly in a straight line.
Now, obviously, we come to the end of the season. You must be feeling enthusiastic about next year in light of this.
It can't be any worse than this one, that's for sure. No, I'm really looking forward to Ferraris, and I think it'll be fantastic. I'm really looking forward to it.
Thanks a lot, Alan.
Okay, thanks.
So Alan Jones not finishing off the season in quite the way that Team Australia would have liked to, but that's the way racing goes sometimes. Cars still being collected up there, so it'll be another couple of laps, I should think, behind safety car.
Yeah, so he's fairly sanguine about it. I mean, you're looking at the pit. We don't know quite what happened, because you saw the Australia car to the left of the racetrack and Pakistan coming across. Whether that had been the consequence of the exit of that corner, we don't know. Only find out later when we speak. This is what happened a little bit earlier. Khalil Bashir spinning, and that's the contact with Brazil and the Lebanese car, and Khalil's got the car pointing the right way. He's now got the car going again. He's actually running a lap down. How he managed to get it started with outside assistance, that I'm not entirely clear, and that we have to wait a little bit later to get that news from the pit lane.
Yeah, and our timing screens must have been slightly incorrect on that. It was Lebanon and Brazil that made contact there. I don't think Pakistan did have an earlier incident on that lap. I think the only incident they had was the big one with Australia. So it was Brazil and Lebanon that tangled up there at Stirling's turn 8. And Brazil still running, having been into the pits earlier on. They're running in 19th place with Lebanon behind them in 20th. So safety car stays out for at least one more lap. Fastest lap has gone to Great Britain on the only flying lap we've had, pretty much, although they've now completed 6 laps with some 42 laps still to go.
And drivers moving the cars around because they realise that when the safety car comes in, they've been running now 3 laps behind that car. Tyre temperatures, tyre pressures particularly will have dropped away, and when the safety car comes in, assuming that does so in the next couple of laps, would be unlikely to see somebody dive into the pits immediately. Having said that, no doubt somebody of that front group will do, but they need to make sure that they've got some tyre temperature in the core of the tyre, rather just than having it in the surface of the tyre.
France in 6th place, China in 7th place, ahead of South Africa in 8th position, and that's fairly important. And USA still down in 10th in the battle for 10th place in the points. China desperate to score as many points as they can. They're ahead of both USA and Portugal. They're big rivals, but they probably need to be a bit further ahead of them to achieve their targets. Great Britain running in 2nd, so they're on for at least 12 points, 13 as it stands at the moment. They have fastest lap, but we'll see some much quicker laps later on. New Zealand well out of the points, of course, at the moment. Way down in 17th position at the moment. If things were to finish, it's a long way to go, but if they were to finish as they are now, Great Britain would indeed snatch 2nd place in that title battle. So still lots to look forward to here.
Well, there's not much action on the track right now, but people in the grandstands getting picked up by the camera, seeing themselves on the giant Diamond Vision screens around the racetrack as we go back on board with that rearward facing camera on the French car, looking back at Franck and the Chinese car. And we're on now lap 7, and we're going to see very soon, hopefully, the safety car being returned to the pit lane. They've still got to get those 2 cars on the back of their flatbed trucks removed to safety. Now, whether they'll be brought back to the pit lane, there's the Australia car, or whether they'll be deposited at the earliest convenience. But cars with broken corners right rear off the Australia car, and of course heavy damage to the Pakistan car as well.
There's our championship projection brought to us by TW Steel, the official timing and watch partner of A1GP, and you can see that third place now, New Zealand on that projection. Great Britain would be second, France would be fourth. So there's still a very close battle between those three nations, Great Britain, New Zealand and France, but if it finishes as it stands now, Great Britain would indeed take the runners-up spot.
Well, that would be a fantastic result for Great Britain. It would be bitterly disappointing for New Zealand and probably to a lesser degree for France, because they've never been quite as competitive as they were in that first series of A1GP, in spite of the valiant efforts of Loic Duval getting that final victory in Eastern Creek earlier in the season.
So there is Montagny of France, just keeping the tyre temperature, keeping the concentration and focus. And these guys are all well experienced at having to do this in a situation where the safety car is out. We had no safety car running. I don't think we even had much of a yellow flag in the last event at Shanghai, but we've certainly got an early safety car intervention in the feature race here at Brands Hatch.
Just getting there, India getting ready in case that safety car does come in at the end of this lap. So we're just waiting to see whether the lights are going to go out or not. The lights still are on.
So the lights are still on, yes, on the Ferrari. Of course, if it were to come in and the safety car period was over, they would be allowed to stop. But while the safety car's going round, they cannot make their first tyre stop. So the teams will be communicating to the drivers, I'm sure, and everybody watching the screens to see if that safety car comes in. We're coming up to the area where the lights will go off. It's, if they are going to, it's the last sort of point they can go off is through this turn 8, Stirling's corner, is the area that the lights will be switched off, but I don't think that they are off yet.
Oh, they are. I think they've gone out, yes, they've gone out. I think as the car just went under the bridge, the lights are out, so this race will get underway on the 8th lap.
Here we go then. India about to take the restart here in the feature race, lines it up, floors the throttle, and straight out of clearways he comes. Green flag racing once again. It's India that leads, Great Britain in second, Ireland in third. Under attack from Switzerland and Germany in the background. Watch else, South Africa coming under pressure from the Netherlands. Netherlands trying to go right round the outside there, but he can't quite do it, and he has to run over the curb on the exit.
So once again we're back to the status quo, the top four running nose to tail. Netherlands going round the outside. If he can make it stick, he'll get that place away. But maybe he's done it. Good job, Jeroen Bleekemolen. He's gained a place up to 8th now.
That is good driving, and that's a sort of bit of a Brands Hatch specialist move to try and make that work. It's so rare to go around the outside of the hairpin.
China was also looking down the inside into the cities of France, but didn't get far enough up. Ireland are now preparing at the end of this, the 8th lap, to come in and put on that first of the 2 sets of mandatory pit stop tyre changes.
Well, the pit stops are crucial because they've been under safety car, John, and they're all absolute. The field is compressed. It's all absolutely together. If they stop on this lap, there could be some huge changes from the pit stops here.
Indeed. The team that, well, India is also preparing. I wondered whether India would take the opportunity. Since they're leading the race, they've got clear air. There's no concern about catching up to the back markers to stay out, but no, India looks as if they will also be amongst the first of the nations to come in for their first pit stop.
It's a tight pit lane here. If they all come in when they're allowed to, which is now, it is going to be a very tight pit lane. India in, but Great Britain stays out. This is good tactics from Great Britain.
Ireland's in, Switzerland stays out. Robbie Kerr is deliberately staying out. He knows he can run quicker than India, the car that did lead this race. He's going to try and get maybe 1 or 2 laps to give him maybe that couple of second advantage. He hopes as Ireland comes to a stop.
Ireland, one of the fastest in terms of pit stops regularly. India usually pretty fast as well. Away he goes, Team India. The time won't stop until they get down to the end of the pit lane, and he's ahead of Ireland. He's got just ahead of Ireland. That was close. A foreshortening effect of the camera, and now Ireland right tucked in behind the Indian car. 30.6. Ireland again faster on 29.6. France on 30.5 seconds. Still behind Germany. China weren't able to gain position, and New Zealand managing to get past Canada there. So New Zealand trying to climb up the order once again, and Canada now under pressure from Team Mexico. So through Hawthorns they come, and Great Britain stay out there at the moment. So what he's trying to do, Robbie Kerr, is to develop a gap on his own. The big risk here, John, is if somebody else has an accident and the safety car comes out.
It's always the gamble. You have to take the gamble. Oh, Neel, Jani in trouble in Stirling's. The car overran into the corner, got the oversteer, and now Robbie Kerr stays in. He's coming in. He had that 1 lap on his own. We don't know what that lap was going to be, whether it was going to be. And Neel, Jani for Switzerland, likewise. You've got to get the speed down here, 60 kilometres per hour. Anything over that will be a drive-through penalty.
Did you see how much Kerr was able to open up that gap? He certainly put in a very fast lap there, did Robbie Kerr.
That's what he was hoping to do. I wasn't sure he was going to take 1 lap or take 2 laps. Set of tyres going on to the Team GBR car. In the meantime, we've got India, Ireland right up their gearbox, France and those are the cars that came in the first time round. Now watch for see Great Britain does.
It's a good stop. It's a good stop from the crew, but is it fast enough to get him out ahead of India? They're making their way down to the end of the pit road. Here comes Great Britain to rejoin. Here comes India. Great Britain in front. They've done it. The pit stop has put them ahead, and Switzerland are going to come out in 4th place. So Ireland, no, in fact, behind that. Switzerland have lost 2 places. They're behind Germany and France. So that was not a great stop at all from Switzerland. Again, for Team Switzerland, the pit stop hasn't worked. But for Great Britain, it certainly has. What a job by the crew.
That was a good job, and key was that single lap that Robbie Kerr, he didn't come in when the pit lane opened. He got the opportunity. It was only the difference of probably about a second or less, but in conjunction with a great pit stop, 30.7 against India was 30.6. So even Stevens, Ireland 29.6. So Ireland were the big gainers overall in terms of pit stop times, but not overall in terms of track position.
Absolutely right. So Robbie Kerr's lap, and they're the guys. Look at the crash helmets, special crash helmets designed by some youngsters here in Kent as part of the Kent Walking Bus campaign, and their designs are actually being worn by the mechanics here for their pit stops. They're having a wonderful day, getting a tour around the track and seeing what it's all about. But it's worked because Robbie Kerr's in front, India in second, South Africa coming in later, so is Portugal going to be coming in later. Brazil also stayed out.
New tyres for South Africa, so that'll give a slight advantage to South Africa when they get back out on track.
And he's got going with the jack. The jack was still attached.
Well, that may well be a penalty for South Africa. You're not meant to do that, so he's going out on track on those new tyres. Drives and gets in alongside China. Can he hold that position on that? He's got it. He's gone eyeball to eyeball with China in Paddock Bend, and he's won that little battle.
Well, that's going to frustrate Frankie Cheng with that fast Chinese car, but beaten out there by Team South Africa. But as you say, John, there may be a penalty for South Africa for going down the pit lane with a piece of equipment still attached. It could have been nasty. Thankfully, it just fell away safely.
It fell away to the left of the pit lane. Nobody on the pit lane getting compromised by it. As we now look at Portugal, they are the lead car right now.
Yep, not yet stopped, but of those people who have stopped Great Britain in the effective lead, wait to see when Filipe Albuquerque comes in. He wants some clear air. He was a long way down in qualifying, if you remember. So really, it's worth the gamble for Team Portugal to stay out there for a little bit longer, get some clear laps in, and put in a fast lap.
It's working for Portugal. They've just had the single fastest race lap. There's that jack. The jack man at the back of the car didn't get the jack clear of the car. It caught on the little lugs, so he's going down the pit lane. There it bounces off, and you might say harmlessly, but that still can be an infringement.
Yeah, and in all the arms went up at the crew as they realised what was happening, but nothing much could be done at that point. Here comes Great Britain then, still not leading yet, because Portugal's still to make a pit stop. But of these stoppers, they are in front of India, Ireland, then Germany. Germany have really come good with those pit stops because it's put them right into this battle, and it's a drive-through for Team Canada. That must be a separate incident that we didn't see, but James Hinchcliffe of Team Canada has picked up a drive-through penalty. He'll have to come in next time around.
Well, of these three lead cars, to me it looks like Ireland is probably the quickest of the three. Robbie Kerr got the lead over India on that pit stop, but he hasn't in effect been able to pull away quite as quickly as I expected, and it's Ireland now all over the back of that India car. But of course, where will you find the place to get past? We know that Narain Karthikeyan ain't going to give up second place easily.
No, absolutely right. And the other question is, where will Portugal come back out after putting in a couple of quick laps? They won't be with the leaders, Team Portugal, because remember, they started all the way down in 11th. But they would look to try and be perhaps with that battle with China and South Africa. They should come out somewhere in that, I would think, if Filipe Albuquerque continues to lap as quickly as he is at the moment. Still on board with Team Ireland's Adam Carroll here as he tries to close up to the back of the Indian car. But Robbie Kerr's tactics, the team's tactics, working to perfection there as it got them out ahead of the Indian car that had led the first section of this race from pole position. And here we are with Adam Carroll getting very close to the back, up to 160 miles an hour on the approach to Paddock Bend. No space to go through though, and he follows the Indian car, gets into a slide.
Very wide on the exit for Team GBR. Robbie Kerr ran the curb right out to the edge of the gravel trap on the exit of the corner. Again, Ireland right under the rear wing of the India car, not able to find a way past. He wants to get a past ahead of India to get a chance to put an attack on Team GBR. I think right now the Ireland car is the quickest of these three cars.
Potentially, but he's got to get past, so let's watch him as he comes through a little bit wide there from Karthikeyan, just ahead of him. Again, Ireland gets a pretty good run going here, but there's not much space.
He's got a chance. He's going to be brave to do it. Down the hill, up towards Hawthorne's Bend. He can't get it going in, but he might be able to get it, come under the India car as they exit the corner. Now defence comes up, has a look down the inside, but too short or straight to get alongside. You must be alongside, not stick your nose in and then have to try and find yourself away out of no man's land.
And Team Germany joining into this as well, watching with interest, no doubt. Michael Ammermüller, always one to watch. He is aggressive, as we know, when it comes to overtaking. Team South Africa's picked up a drive-through. That is no doubt for the pit stop with the jack attached. Now, crucial stop for Portugal. Where is Filipe Albuquerque going to come back out after a couple of very quick laps from him? He's just taking fastest lap in this race. Good stop, a little bit of a hiccup. Now, where's he going to come back out? No, he's not going to beat China out. He's going to come out still behind the USA.
Yeah, 31.8, about a second down on the best that we've seen. Ireland, of course, the best at 29.6, but the average has been a 30.5.
Back with Team Ireland, so this is now the battle genuinely for second place between India and Ireland. Great Britain now takes over the lead, courtesy of Portugal's pit stop. And this is all helping Robbie Kerr because these two are so busy concentrating on one another. Robbie Kerr is able to ease away and open up that advantage. Then it's Team Germany, followed by France, Switzerland and China. And there you are, the top six. Switzerland only in sixth place. Here we are with Neel, Jani, lost out at the pit stops. And as we've seen, it's very tough to overtake unless you get a really good run on somebody. And he's got the very experienced Franck Montagny ahead of him for France.
So you've just got to sit, you've got to be patient. There's probably one part of the racetrack that you can get a clean overtake. If you're not certain, don't put your nose in the inside.
An important thing to mention is that New Zealand have gained, as they often do on the pit stops, because they're up to 12th now. So they're not in the points yet, but knocking on the door of them. So New Zealand up to 12th. They're still going to battle for holding second place in the championship, but their big rivals for that, Great Britain, are now leading the race.
And that gap is up to just over a second. There you see France, Switzerland, China, they're running all the way down, and that's, well, China's, Switzerland 6th, China 7th, Netherlands 8th, USA 9th, Portugal back in 10th.
Yeah, then 11th and 12th, here you are, there is New Zealand, Jonny Reid in Black Beauty, and he's in behind the Malaysian car, so the pit stop helped him hugely, but now he's got to try and find a way of getting past Faraz Fawzi driving for Team Malaysia, and here comes Ireland on the attack again for Team India, who has to defend to the inside, and Germany's going to join in.
The key now is for Ireland to cut back, try and get the drive off the hill, coming out of Surtees now under the rear wing. Try and keep off that guy. So we saw the contact earlier in the race between Pakistan and Australia, side by side. Wing damage to Ireland. Well done, picked up that and wing to the damage to the left front, right front of that wing. He's going to have to come into the pit and change that nose. It's not going to be of any use to him. Well, you can see he's struggling already. And India, the contact must have occurred on the exit of Surtees. That just slight contact and the wings damage.
Oh, what a shame for Adam Carroll. I thought they were close, but I thought, how have they got away with that? He didn't get away with it. The front wing is damaged. Take a look here, see if we can find out how it happened.
Did it happen here? It's hard to tell what happened. I think it happened a little bit earlier, but that was through Hawthorns, and again he pulled over to the right. There's, well, you can see the shock, the disappointment in the face of the Irish crew. They're now having to prepare for a pit stop. Might not come right, he's staying out another lap, and you never want to do that, because if that front wing was to collapse and cap underneath the car, it would not be a good situation.
Stop and go penalty for Canada of 10 seconds. It might be that they've got a problem with their speed limit button, because he's already had a drive-through. I would imagine he was caught for speeding on the drive-through as well. Indicates they may have a problem with their speed limiting system, unlike James Hinchcliffe to not press the button, so they must have some sort of technical difficulty. But Ireland still running with that front wing now trailing on the ground, and surely if he doesn't stop soon, then he'd be called in by the race director.
Oh, Narain Karthikeyan got it all wrong again on the exit of Paddock Hill Bend, on his own this time. No pressure from Ireland. They're struggling with that damaged front wing, but he just about got away with it. So we look in the India pit, and the face is not quite so happy as they were a couple of laps ago. And back to Switzerland.
Well, back to India for the moment, and Ireland. You know, Ireland's not losing too much time here, is he? It's amazing how a bit of front wing damage doesn't seem to be costing him as much as you would think. Adam Carroll's circuit knowledge and experience perhaps making up for the rest. But look at Kerr. He's now been given a chance to open up the lead. He's had it up to 2.1 seconds. Let's see what it is this time. It's opened up more. Across the line goes Karthikeyan. And actually it's not, it's just around the 2 second mark again.
The problem that Ireland have got is that wing is not going to stabilise, it's only going to get worse. And the point is, when the team, they're going to have to bring him in sooner than later. They can't, for example, wait and bring him in for the second pit stop. That's not for a long, long time to go. So it is inevitable that they're going to have to come in a what you might call a green flag situation. In other words, no advantage. All they can hope for, if there was a yellow flag or a safety car, then that would work to their advantage. But otherwise, it's going to be not if but when.
So India still holding on to second from Ireland. Adam Carroll doing some heroics here with a damaged front wing, but still managing to get some sort of front end grip out of the car. Oh, it's off, the front wing's off.
That's what I was concerned about. Fortunately, when it went big time. There you can see he had to get out of the throttle pedal. He had no option. My concern was that he was going to find
It's punctured the left front as well. It's caused a puncture.
Yes, I'm not surprised. So all these things inevitably were going to happen. It was just when happened, of course, at the highest, fastest part of the racetrack, when the maximum load is going to be on that part of the bodywork on that front wing. And now Adam Carroll is coming back to the pits at a very slow pace with a damaged front. There you are, left front. He can barely slow the car down, and he's got to be so careful in these situations. A driver thinks he's going slowly, but you can never be careful enough.
New Zealand go past. That brings New Zealand on the verge of scoring a point up
he's
to 11.
He's missed the pit lane entrance. He's gone off and he's into the car barrier on the outside of Clark Curve. He was too quick. He couldn't make the barrier.
He's still going. He's still going. He's rejoined and then to the pit lane.
Well, did he hit the barrier or not? I don't know. I thought he did, but he's in the pit. I mean, only been talking about the luck of the Irish. I thought for sure they have made extensions to the runoff in that corner, and somehow or other he kept it off the barrier. But well, what a ride for Adam Carroll.
Well, dear, I don't think he's going to get a podium finish out of this one. These boys practice changing nose cones regularly. They'll be pretty fast, but it's a much longer process than just changing tyres when you've got to unbolt one and bolt on the new one. And they've also got to change a front tyre because of the puncture, so it's not as straightforward as it normally is in their practices. That was pretty fast, though. I have to say that was quick, very quick stop. But really, any prospects now of Ireland scoring points are pretty much out the window.
Well, what a disappointment, and I mean, we're seeing a great race. Here it is again there in the nose, just finally the wind pressure, airspeed just shears it off, and in the process it clobbered that tyre, that left front. You can see it already beginning to disintegrate. Here he comes down into Clark Curve. He's got the rear brakes on. How he stayed off, all you can say is well done, Motorsport Vision, giving it the maximum amount of space on the outside of Clark Curve, allowing him to dare. He wondered, what have I done wrong? Well, what he did was he was just too quick with a damaged left front, and well, just he drove. I don't think he even could see whether cars were coming. He just managed to drive back across against the flow of traffic.
Well, real drama there for Adam Carroll for Team Ireland. It's sort of a bit of one-handed rally driving. Look at the technique there. More like a rally driver than a racing driver, but he got it back into the pit lane. It's Great Britain that leads now with a 1.4 second advantage, so Narain Karthikeyan is not dropping away here, and it's Germany now running third, courtesy of Ireland's problem. So Michael Ammermüller on target for a possible podium. France fourth, Switzerland fifth, and China sixth.
And as we get a little bit further on, 20 of 45 laps, we're seeing the lap time from India, well, best part of half a second quicker on that last lap than Team GBR. The gap's down to 1.4 seconds. So India isn't giving up on winning this race. They're coming back at Team GBR. Robbie Kerr's had the luxury of that little bit of an advantage. Well, Ireland and India are battling, but now India's picking up the pace once again.
So there's France in fourth place, being chased hard by Neel, Jani of Team Switzerland, not dropping away at all. China also up there with these guys, running a strong sixth. Netherlands seventh, USA eighth. Ninth there for Portugal, Filipe Albuquerque, after that good run earlier on. Now, of course, finding it hard to pass the American car, but he's still in a good shape for later in the race. And now Malaysia runs 10th, the last of the point scorers, and New Zealand in 11th position. Still some hope there at Team China that they can score some more points here today. They've certainly got car speed, but they need a very quick second stop and maybe even one or two passes before that happens.
Well, these three cars are probably going to be fairly well stuck together, France, Switzerland and China, and when that pit stop window opens at the beginning of lap 30 or end of lap 32 into lap 40, which of the three will decide to come in and make the pit stops? If I was any one of the three, I would be very careful as to whether I want to come in all together or try and do as we saw Great Britain and take the opportunity of a clear lap to pick up that little bit of extra speed and make that work for you when you get to your pits.
But here's a story in itself, John. We've seen China take a podium already this season and in the past. We've got new World Cup winners there, Team Switzerland, but they're not getting away from Team China. It just shows you the mark of how much China has improved in A1GP since it all began.
I mean, for me, the biggest disappointment for China was they were so dominant in the two practice sessions we had Friday afternoon, Saturday morning. We thought they're going to be on the front row of the grid, potential race winners. It all went wrong in qualifying. Frankie couldn't get a clear lap. And France and Germany were just getting information also under investigation. So that may well make it very easy indeed for China. They may not even have to race those two nations directly ahead.
No, I don't know what that's for, but they're Germany and France both under investigation. So have to keep an eye on that. If there's some sort of penalty applied, that's going to drop them out of a potential podium finish, certainly for Germany, running third currently, and then fourth place France, Switzerland 5th, China 6th, followed by the Netherlands, USA and Portugal. All these guys pushing hard. Power boost not used by everybody though. That is number of power boosts still available. Great Britain 7, India only 4.
And part of the reason is you really have got so little time on this racetrack to think about it. Ordinarily you use power boost when you've got a long straight. The straights here really are long curves. It's only in Hawthorne Straight where you might want to use it. And once you use it, you've got to keep your foot flat on the throttle. So it'll be 4th gear out of Solitary's corner and use it all the way down 5th and 6th. But it's such a short run, the gain is probably minimal as opposed to other longer circuits.
Team Germany waiting. There's a little pause for the guys there before they have to do their second pit stop. We're some 11 laps or so until the next pit stop window opens up. Drive-through penalty again for Team Canada. I'm sure they've got a problem with that speed limiter. Seems a bit bizarre that they've had to come in and out so many times and they're already effectively a lap down.
Good drive from Michael Ammermüller. He struggled a little bit getting to grips with the circuit. First time for the German here at Brands Hatch, but finds himself in position with a podium potential position at the end of 45 laps, but running altogether just under 3 seconds behind the leader. Of course, still Team GBR as we see Adam Carroll back out on track. Just get an idea what the time. He's the fastest car on the circuit, has the fastest lap, 1:17.434. So this car was potentially a race-winning car again, but got trapped behind a car. That was India, where he couldn't really get the job done. Adam Carroll, this is a virtuoso drive right now from the Irishman.
He's flying, isn't he? He's absolutely giving it his all. He's got fastest lap already. This might take it further out of reach. 1:17.4 at the moment, although they will be going quicker later in the race. Look at that, sliding it through clearways. Fabulous to watch. He is absolutely on it. Now, Malaysia still running in 10th place. Paris Fauzi in the points potentially, but he's got that New Zealand car chasing him, although he's been able to ease away a little bit from Jonny Reid, which is a bit of a surprise. And Jonny, although he was fast in a couple of the practice sessions, just hasn't seemed to have settled into this Brands Hatch circuit as well as he would at most of the other tracks.
So he's maybe coming to the circuit knowing that he had a monumental task to try and put New Zealand as the winners of the Nations Trophy, and that's not been the case. He didn't have a great time here last year anyway, and almost as if you think everything has conspired against New Zealand.
Now we've been monitoring some of the radio traffic going on, and Robbie Kerr explaining back to his pits that the car is getting a little bit of oversteer. It's getting a little loose at the back end, which is pretty much understandable, John, as the tyre wear becomes a factor.
Well, I think also it is the car setup, and you can go two ways with car setup. You can go for a fast car setup, or you can go for a setup that will be easier on the car over the longer run. And one would suspect that Robbie and Team GBR have certainly had very much the fast car in mind to gain the advantage in qualifying, to get those front row positions, those pole positions. But if you have a driving style and a car that is prone to be a little bit more on the nose, and therefore you're going to find a car with the back end beginning to get wayward as a consequence, that may well be the penalty. His last lap was 1:18.2 against India, who were 0.2 of a second quicker. The gap is now just down to a second, so India has been eating into that advantage of Great Britain over the last 3 laps.
There's Team Canada 19th. Let's get some news from Team Canada from Lee McKenzie.
Goal was for racing Czech Republic out of the pit lane, and the third was for speeding during racing the Czech Republic out of the pit lane. So it's not been a great day for James Hinchcliffe.
Right, thanks Lee. So it's actually a series of different errors that have given them the drive-through penalties, not just one of speeding in pit lane, but there he is, he's still running, and Team Canada are still in the race, but well outside the points in 19th position.
And in fact, ironically, they're running with their shared nation. That's Ireland ahead in 18th place. Both Ireland and Canada now 1 lap down, but again Ireland lap upon lap, even quicker lap on this lap 23. Ireland 1:17.269. So Adam Carroll pretty much driving in the zone and driving in one of those situations where I've got nothing to lose and anything I gain, well, that's there for me to take.
Portugal, there you are, seeing Filipe Albuquerque still tucked up behind Team USA. Up ahead of them is the Netherlands. China was once again looking very close to the back of Switzerland last time around, but just can't quite seem to find a way through. It's always the difficulty here at Brands Hatch. Looking at the fastest laps of the race so far, you can see clearly that Ireland have taken that with a 1:17.2 over Portugal on a 1:17.5.
But where's Great Britain? They're not in the top 6, they're 7, and that's amazing. That just goes to prove that position at the start of the race, and as long as you can control it, is as important.
USA wide and sticking the wheel on the grass, and maybe under pressure here from Portugal, but I think He's recovered just in time. That was a bit of a scary moment for Jonathan.
I think just a momentary lap of concentration, or simply the back end just stepped out at the most inconvenient time. Anyway, just a little bit of a wake-up call for Jonathan Summerton. And, well, there's a young...
João Urbano, the driver for Team Portugal earlier in the year, and he's watching to see how his man's getting on. Well, they almost had an opportunity there, but they weren't quite close enough to take advantage of Team USA's mistake. But it will give them a boost, and they'll try and push him into another one.
This is another car driver setup that's prone to be an oversteering car. It's great to watch. It's not always the most productive way around, but it can work occasionally, and that may just have been a simple case of the back end just getting a little bit away in a difficult position on the racetrack. Quick corner. This is the exit of Clark Curve.
New Zealand still tucked in behind Malaysia, a little closer this time than he was. Maybe he's looking after his tyres a bit. If you get too close to the back of the car in front, then you do tend to overheat the tyres. It was something Jonathan Summerton referred to after the sprint race this morning, and it may be that Black Beauty, the Kiwis, are sort of saving their gunpowder, if you like, for a little bit later in the race, or maybe to close up just before the next round of pit stops. We've still got 6 laps to go before the pit lane window opens up for the second time.
We're on lap 27. The gap between Great Britain and India has stabilised at a 1.1 second. Robbie Kerr has been able... Neel Jani. Don't see that terribly often from Neel Jani. Just the dirt track the car unintentionally, I would hasten to add, into that Druid corner.
So pit stop window 2 on lap 32. Well, we are currently on lap 27, so we're just a little way short of that yet. France also sliding around a bit, so there's an opportunity here for China, but they've got to find a way past, and so far they have not been able to do that, but there's a possibility they might later in the race, so keep an eye on that. Here comes Frankie Cheng again, just moving out of the slipstream, but he's not in any way, shape or form ready to attack into the right-hander at Hawthorns. Again, he's not really close enough into Westfield either, so he has to follow the Swiss car. And you have to say that Neel Jani is not a driver who often makes mistakes. Made a little one yesterday in one of the sessions, but not often do we see him run wide.
No, and there's the battle for the lead. India again, just that second, 1.1 seconds, that's the difference between India and second place Great Britain. All China can do is just to go back to that battle going on for 6th place. It's just they've just got to try and force an error from France, or from Switzerland, or from France, which is probably going to be fairly unlikely.
So France, Switzerland, China, in 6th place China, Netherlands 7th, 8th for USA, 9th for Portugal, discount Canada, they're a lap down, so then it's Malaysia and New Zealand. The red and white Canadian car, sort of an infiltrator there, but a lap down on the others around him.
Again, I mean, I just thought I got a glimpse of the Swiss car turning into Druids, the back end again, looking on very characteristically Swiss in that it was sliding into the corner.
Yeah, that's right. Maybe Neel Jani is struggling a little bit with this set of tyres now, with the setup on the car. He doesn't want to be sliding it around too much, and China again looking to have a very fast car. If only they can find some clear air. That's their problem, and they're going to have to try and judge their tactics carefully when it comes to that second round of pit stops.
Well, I think that Switzerland's got a small handling problem, and Neel Jani's just hanging on there. He's not able to challenge Franck Montagny for France, but he's having to be aware that behind him China really is probably the quicker of these two cars at this point on lap 28.
It's still Great Britain leading up front with a 0.9 of a second lead, just under a second, as you say. It's pretty stable up there. Looking back still from Team Switzerland at the red and yellow colours of Team China. Kong Fu Cheng, Frankie Cheng, with that one podium finish to his credit so far this year. Several teams under investigation at the moment. We're not quite clear what their mishaps may have been, but interesting because they're key players here. France in 4th, Germany in 3rd, Italy somewhere further down there in 13th place.
Frankie Cheng runs wide on the exit. Just he draws up again the Swiss car. This is the part of the racetrack we saw Neel Jani struggling, and again France, Switzerland, China, all concertina as they come into Druids, then down through Graham Hill Bend, and then onto this bottom straight, begins to open back up again. The China car of the three for me is the quickest of these cars, but Frankie Cheng has to use all that knowledge of France had. He's got tons of it to find a way past Neel Jani in Switzerland before he can even think about making a move in France.
Still 20 laps to go, or 4 laps until the pit window opens up once again. Gap of 5 seconds from Germany running 3rd to France running in 4th at the head of this little pack. And again, they shadow one another through these fast corners. Nothing gained, nothing lost, really. A little bit of a game of chess between these guys because there's no clear way of overtaking, but you've got to keep the pressure on. Physically, too, it's a tough racetrack. So
physically on the one hand, but the other thing is there's such a high level of concentration that is required from these drivers, particularly when they're running down another car. they're having to keep an eye on what they're doing. They're trying to put themselves in the position to see what the car ahead's doing. The gap opening up a little bit now, 1.4 seconds, so it's gone from just under a second up to 1.4 seconds. Now why that is, we're not sure. We haven't seen anything occurring, but you can visually see the gap between Great Britain and India has begun to open up. Their lap times on that last lap virtually identical, so it must have been somewhere around the previous lap.
Interestingly, Germany on that last lap actually was a fraction quicker than both India and Great Britain, but only by a few hundredths of a second. But nonetheless, Ammermüller certainly seems to be well on the pace here. France, Switzerland and China continuing to follow one another. I'm sure Franck's capable of going quickly. We've already seen it today when he got fastest lap in the sprint race, but he dropped back to do that. He made space for himself. He doesn't have that option here. He's got to try and keep the pressure on Switzerland.
And as a driver against another competitive driver, I don't think Franck Cheng is going to be as aggressive. Had it been maybe someone like Adam Carroll or Robbie Kerr, I suspect that they would have been making more inroads into the Swiss position. Currently Switzerland running in 5th place.
We gather the teams that were shown as under investigation is to do with pit stop infringements, not speeding, and we've got Ireland and India under investigation as well. That presumably was for the contact between the two. That's standard, that they will always look at any incident that results in a bit of damage to a car. I don't think they'd take any action, but of course there was a very slight contact between the two cars, which ended up with front wing damage for Team Ireland.
Yeah, I mean, I think in fairness one would say that was a racing incident. The one with Pakistan and Australia, I think that needs further investigation. That was maybe avoidable.
So race leader down the hill. There is the gap back to 2nd place, Team India. And again, Narain Karthikeyan sliding the car a little bit out of Graham Hill Bend, and not far behind him now, Team Germany, only a second himself, 1.1 seconds behind the Indian car, and all the cars just moving around a bit more, and you can see the rubber being laid down through Surtees.
Yeah, so the gap has stabilised. It's 1.3 seconds. That had been 1.4, and the lap time again respectively slightly to the advantage of India. Power boost being used by France, getting a challenge from Switzerland. That's that battle going on for 4th place. And there the rearward view as you drop down through Dingledale, climb the hill into Sheen Curve. Still 7 power boosts available for Great Britain and 4 for India.
Yeah, he's going to save them up for later in the race perhaps. You're looking at the split there, 1.4 seconds the gap through the back section of the circuit, 1.3 across the line last time. So Robbie might have managed to ease it out, or is it just that section of the circuit he's faster on? Let's see as they come across the line once again. Another lap completed. That is 31 laps completed. The pit lane window is going to open up next time around, and we're going to be into the crucial stage of this race. Robbie really...
So we're on to the position of where it is the pit stop window going to be available. Does Robbie Kerr have anything left? He's running at 1 minute 18.2, a 1:18.3 for India, and it's sort of sawing between that lap time, India and Great Britain over the last 3 to 4 laps, with that window about to open up, and he wants to make sure that he does a quick clean lap to try and get in and make sure he seals victory after that second pit stop.
Yeah, he's being asked by the team now to give it a big push leading into that second round of pit stops, the final round of pit stops. Let's just ride with him up through these dauntingly fast corners, but so satisfying for the driver. Up to Westfield, 5th down to 4th gear, clips the curb out to the edge once again. It's like threading the eye of a needle coming up to this one, because it's blind on entry, flicks it in, 4th gear through there, and flat out back on the power again.
Yeah, I mean, he knows the circuit so well. He knows the precise place to place the car. Every one of these corners, again, those blind crests and falls. Now it comes down to Clark Curve into the pit lane. We anticipate at the end of this lap.
Next one, I think. Yeah, it'll be the next one, because they've got to complete the 32
laps
before they're allowed to come in. So now the pit lane is open effectively, and he may well be coming in. What's the gap? He's opened it up another 0.2 of a second.
1.6 seconds, so he's gained an advantage, 1:18.2. He didn't actually go any quicker than his previous lap. It was just that India lost 0.3 of a second to Great Britain, as Great Britain now prepares for that pit stop.
So there you are, GBR getting ready and Team India getting ready. It looks like it's going to be a straightforward battle, no staying out for either of them.
But really, India is getting a threat coming from Germany, just 0.7 of a second. So as India drop back, Germany's closed down. So India may not feel so comfortable. They've lost over that last lap 1.6 seconds. 0.7 of a second now, Germany behind. So the threat is now coming from behind, and India is going to have to be very prepared to see Germany try to put themselves in the position to leapfrog India after this round of pit stops.
Yeah, I wonder if Germany will stay out another lap or not. I wonder if they'll... No, it doesn't look as though they're going to. Remember, these guys all the mechanics have to stay behind the white line in their garage until the car has actually stopped in front of them. They're not allowed to run out until the car stopped. Anxious moments for Katie Clements, team principal, and Tony Clements, seat holder for GBR.
It's up to Team GBR for Robbie Kerr to choose when to come in. He's opted to come in as soon as is possible. India's coming in, likewise Germany also. So top three into the pit lane.
Straightforward battle then between the guys in the pits. That's what's going to happen. But Great Britain have that advantage coming in all the way to the end of the pit lane for Great Britain, whereas India much further up the pits. And this is where these guys have to perform out of their skin. Let's see what GBR do. Watch for those crash helmet designs designed by some youngsters here in Kent, especially for this event. India on the route already, but he's got to get right down to the end of the pit lane. He gets clear air. Where's Great Britain? Great Britain not yet ready. Here comes India. India's going to reclaim it, or are they? Yes, India free in front. Yes, you're right. Kerr has to slot in behind him. So India takes the lead back from Great Britain.
Well, what a great stop from Team India, and what a disappointment for Great Britain. They did all the work on the racetrack. They lost. They had opportunity to consolidate the lead. Germany now right behind Great Britain, but India got, and that was a mirror situation to the one we saw in Mexico, where it was Switzerland on the inside. This time it was Great Britain. They had to drop back. They could not be seen to try and get an advantage. India was on the racetrack. Great Britain in the pit lane.
Look at the congratulations amongst the guys there. One of them looks as though he might be a bit sore, but they got him out ahead. And it was brand new tyres, did you notice, on the Indian car? I didn't see if it's brand new or a scrub set on the GBR car.
I didn't catch either. I was watching the timing and scoring as those two cars went side by side. Let's watch again. As India, and they got slightly compromised. I think it was New Zealand coming in, India on the move, Germany. Robbie Kerr can't quite, it was only, half a second the differential. Had he been that half a second quicker, he could have taken the advantage and got in front of India in the pit lane.
Brilliant work by Team India there to get their man out ahead. Oh, the disappointment for GBR, the air gun thrown onto the ground. They are gutted. They've practiced so hard to do this. Now Switzerland in the pits, so they've come in a little bit lonely, and not so many other cars have decided to come in on this lap. And by the way, China now leads this race. China setting a new quick lap, not the fastest of the race, but their own personal best lap so far. Switzerland en route here. Let's hope it was a better stop. 29.8 seconds. Rejoins behind South Africa for the moment, who has made a second stop as well. But it's now China, John, who've gone for the gamble to stay out there. Now remember, they're trying to get past France and Germany.
Filipe Salaquarda for the Czech Republic stalled, so he's getting a bump start, trying to get that car running. But it is up to now Frankie Cheng, who was so quick in Friday practice, so quick in Saturday morning, potentially a race winner in our minds until it came to qualifying. So he can hopefully get out and take the opportunity to one clear lap, two clear laps, to put himself in that battle he was enjoying with Switzerland and France, that when they make their pit stops and there's a bit of waste fuel in the exhaust pipe, that's all that's happening. But they get the thing fired up, and Filipe Salaquarda is back on the track for the Czech Republic.
The other team that stayed out there is USA, so they're running first and second. Portugal as well, understandably going for the late pit stop. It worked for them. There is our race leader.
Fastest race lap to China, 1:17.203, and that's the result of China getting some clear air. If he can do this for one more lap, a couple of laps, he may well find he's done enough that when he makes his pit stop, assuming they get a good pit stop, to leapfrog Switzerland and France, the nations that he was running behind for such a long time.
Just watch Frankie Cheng. He has a lovely, smooth, efficient style into the pits. Team USA, is there a problem?
No, it's pretty slow looking to me. And I think there's a problem with Salaquarda, that he stalled it or whatever. So Jonathan Summerton's pit stop has turned to disaster, as we see behind Mexico. Well, there's something going on. Well, what's something? The car running, I can't make up my mind whether the car's running. But they've still got the air starter in the back of the car.
That's weird, isn't it? Now they're going to bump start it. Well, I tell you what, China's definitely going to be past USA after this pit stop.
I don't know if he had a clutch. I wonder whether that was the problem.
So, a real problem there for Team USA. Jonathan Summerton's not going to be able to score another podium finish to end the season, sadly, but it was a great result in the sprint race from second position on the grid. But that's helped China, because China was battling with USA and with France, if you remember, over what was sixth place, but it could well be better than that now after one or two have had troubles. Across the line he goes. What's that lap? A 1:17.0.
Another, well, in fact, it's India, 1:16.7 is the fast lap. So those fresh tyres, be they new tyres, have given India a huge momentum, and they've done now the fastest race lap.
Yeah, India, I'm sure we're on new tyres, so they saved a new set for the last part of the race. Portugal now in, John. This could be an important stop as well. He was involved in another tussle at the bottom end of the top 10 now. He should be able to certainly be past USA by now because of USA's problems, as long as they have a clean stop. And we'll have to see whether he's ahead of the Netherlands, because that was one of the other cars that he was fighting with. No, he's not. He comes out behind, and he's behind New Zealand. Now, New Zealand has made both stops, so that's a gain for New Zealand. They're in the points now, and now we're going to be into a very interesting situation to see if New Zealand can score enough points to hold on to second place in the championship.
New Zealand are 9th place on the road, but effectively they're in 8th. China has yet to make that final pit stop. Frankie Cheng and the China team staying out, trying to get as much opportunity. Their battle really is with Switzerland and France, who are running now reverse position. Switzerland ahead of France for 5th and 6th place.
Yeah, I think actually New Zealand will be 7th effectively after both China and Portugal's stops have been taken into account. So that is 8th being shown on there. They'll be 7th. I don't think that that's going to be well.
Is that going to help GB or not? I mean,
well,
it's a
GB,
huge point.
It's going to be tight because GB currently running 2nd, so they would be scoring 12 points.
China ready for Frankie Cheng has just come through the start finish. Another lap of 1:17.2, but it's still India that's setting the fastest laps in this race right now.
He's so good out of Druids. You watch the car doesn't slide out of there. Watch him here. He's very quick, but he doesn't really let the car move around too much.
No, I mean, you drive the car, and an A1GP car responds under a bit of a dirt track, as we talk about that, into Surtees. But the car, if you overdrive the car, you work the back of the car, you will eventually hurt the rear tires. And that's what so many of the drivers, the inexperienced drivers, sometimes think. They've got to have a car that turns on the nose, but that isn't the case. You've got to have a car that turns on the steering wheel and on the throttle.
Now, further back, you've got Switzerland there, now running in 5th on the road. That will presumably be 4th when China have made the stop, although China might be up there somewhere with Switzerland when they come back out of their pit stop. So that's what we're watching, to see where China will be relative to Switzerland and France. And of course, yes, China will still be ahead of New Zealand, so New Zealand will stay 8th for the moment. They won't get as high as 7th, so still not enough. Is he coming in?
A late cut coming in.
Goodness me. That was late.
You can't do much later than that. I mean, it was almost, he got to the point where, am I going to make it, am I not? So China finally into the pit, and they want to get out ahead of that battle, which would be 4th, 5th place, with Switzerland 5th, France in 6th place.
Scrubbed set of tyres going on board the Chinese car. Will he come out of the likes of Switzerland and France in particular? Good stop, good stop. Now India coming past. Now, he's not going to challenge the top 3, we know that, but will he be able to challenge 4th place Switzerland? He's still coming down the pit lane on that speed limit button. There's Switzerland appearing in view. There's China appearing in view on the left-hand side. He's not going to beat Switzerland, but he comes out behind Switzerland and ahead of France.
Yes, and that's going to be a bonus for China. They've got ahead of one of the two, they would say, bogeymen for them in the race. And Neel, Jani still struggling with that car up in Druids. Doesn't look a comfortable car for the Swiss driver here this afternoon.
So France losing out a bit really as a result of those pit stops. And what we have now is all of the leaders having made their pit stops. It's India leading the race by 1.8 seconds. It's a good advantage.
And it looks comfortable for Narain Karthikeyan. That fresh set of tyres he put on has given him that little bit of impetus, that advantage initially.
Look at the points projection. New Zealand, as it stands at the moment, would just hold on to 2nd by 1 point. But if Great Britain can go and get fastest lap, which by the way has gone to USA now, then they would be tied on points, although New Zealand would still win it on a greater number of race wins.
To get the fastest lap, Great Britain would have to find the best part of half a second on any individual lap with 10 laps to go. And that right now at this stage of the race, I suspect it would be a very tall challenge. I don't think it's possible.
Well, New Zealand under pressure here from Portugal. This is for 8th place. Portugal in 9th. Malaysia's running 10th. Ireland, by the way, are up to 11th place. You know, they had that pit stop for the nose cone. Now, have they? No, they haven't made a 3rd pit stop yet, so that's why Ireland are being shown 11th. They do still have a 3rd pit stop to make. They had to make an extra stop earlier to have the nose cone changed.
Well, in the meantime, New Zealand battling away under pressure from Filipe Albuquerque. And make no mistake, there is no done deal here for this position that New Zealand's in 8th place, because Filipe Albuquerque in his 3 outings and A1, he's gone off. Man, is that Druids? Germany had been in 3rd place, suddenly out of the race.
It is a Druids, you're right, up at the top of the hill. Team Germany out of 3rd place. Switzerland now up to 3rd.
But that helps New Zealand, because Germany was behind Great Britain.
He's got a punctured left rear there, John. Let's take a look at what happened. Out of paddock.
Yes.
Oh, it goes on
yes,
him.
It does. And that's a very unpleasant situation. There you see the sidewall deflection, and he tries to slow the car down, locks it up because the front right of the car is up in the air, and Mexico trying to get out of the way as quickly as possible. So Michael Ammermüller just a passenger through misfortune and fate.
Oh, what a bitter disappointment for Germany. They were on for a podium finish in their final event, of season 3.
Ireland and India are also under investigation.
Yeah, I think that's still from that earlier incident. Let's all look how close Great Britain is to the back of India. Where did that come from? Suddenly, Robbie Kerr's 0.3 of a second. He's going for race victory. And
he did a lap 1:17.273. Narain Karthikeyan 1:18.6. So somewhere on that lap, Narain Karthikeyan lost over a second, probably nearly a second and a half to Team GBR.
Well, that's remarkable. Suddenly Great Britain now with a real opportunity to take the victory, but he's got to get past India, and the gap opens up again a little bit as they go down the backstretch. That must have been a mistake somewhere from Karthikeyan.
It's either a mistake, or it was traffic, or he was responding to an incident around the track. You can see again the pace of the India car pulls away from Team GBR down the Hawthorne straight into Hawthorne corner. It was 0.3 of a second when they came across the line on lap 40. We've got 8 laps of this race remaining.
Yeah, not long to go here for Robbie Kerr. He's going to be giving it his all. You can imagine what Robbie wants here. He wants victory in the feature race. He's still to win a feature race, but it doesn't look very likely at the moment, because Narain Karthikeyan, despite having had that gap closed up last time around, is now beginning to ease away again.
Whatever happened, we didn't catch that particular exciting moment, but therefore we see India again. The gap will be up to best part of a second when they come across the start finish line. It got up to almost 2 seconds at one point. 1 second, 0.082.
So 7 laps rather remain now as they head through Paddock Hill Bend. These two are now well ahead of third place Switzerland. Well, Neel Jani said he wanted a podium out of this second race, and he could well have one. Let's see what happened to India.
Out of Sheen curve, ran wide coming out of Sheen curve, got it all wrong, and that gave Robbie Kerr the hope, the thought that was that a mistake, was that a technical problem, had he overused that set of fresh tyres too much? It was just purely a driving error from Narain Karthikeyan.
Got to keep his concentration, keep his focus. There are still 7 laps to go. India in front by 1.0 seconds, and it looks as though Malaysia out of the race. Malaysia out. Faraz Fawzi climbs out of the car. What a shame. Sat into their campaign, but that's the way it goes. So they drop down to the back of the order, and that means up into the top 10 now. We've got Team Italy. They are in 9th place, and Indonesia on target for a point here. That would be fantastic for Satrio Hermanto of Team Indonesia if they can hold on to that. That really would be an achievement. They have not scored any points so far this year, so we'll wait to see if that's confirmed. There is Satrio Hermanto, but he's under pressure from the Czech Republic, and behind the Czech Republic, South Africa. Now, Adrian Zougg's not normally back there. He might have had a problem, but Satrio Hermanto, Team Indonesia, the white and red car, he's running 10th.
Well, I mean, I don't know whether Satrio Hermanto ever imagined he would find himself in this situation. He's got pressure from a driver who's a quicker driver behind him, and probably an even quicker driver than Salaquarda in the Czech Republic. Back to Team GBR. Gap was still around a second, so it's stabilised over the last 2 laps. Both drivers running in the mid 1 minute 17s as we come to the conclusion. 6 laps to go of this long, tough Brands Hatch round.
Yeah, it's gruelling on the drivers, pretty gruelling on the equipment, but so far so good. And Great Britain still chasing down India, but that gap, as you say, remaining pretty constant now over the last couple of laps. Robbie Kerr giving it his all, and there's still a battle between New Zealand and Portugal here.
I'm not surprised. Filipe Albuquerque has been on the podium on 3 times out of 6 outings. Whoa, be careful, that's not easy. Round the outside, can he get it done? Well, if he does, it'll be unbelievable. He has to finally back out. Well, that was commitment and courage.
That was brilliant, a try from Filipe Albuquerque, one of the fastest sections of the circuit. Didn't come off, but in New Zealand, you know, he wants that second place. At the moment, they are second in the championship. He doesn't want to lose another place, and that's why he's holding on so hard.
And credit to both drivers. That was an accident waiting to happen, but both gave each other just enough squeak room in that long, fast Hawthorne's corner, and now Portugal's dropped back. Let's look again and see. Here's the run as they come down Hawthorne straight. The view from the back of the New Zealand car, picks up the 2, gets alongside on the outside of the corner. Look, almost interlocking wheels as they get into the corner. Still side by side, still by side. That's only at the exit that Portugal's got to get out of the throttle.
Yeah, he had to get on the grass and get out of the throttle. That was scary stuff. But well done, as you say, by both. Bit of a slide there from Robbie Kerr, the rear end of the car. Definitely moving around a bit under power, up the hill, back down again. This is the area where we saw that incident last time. But Great Britain really, really pushing hard here. So into Westfield, and India still got the advantage. Switzerland still running in 3rd place, remember, with China right behind. So China just 1 place off a possible podium finish here.
and that's only 0.4 of a second behind the Swiss car. So unfortunately, a bit of rubber catching on the camera lens as we look from that camera towards, as we come down through Dingledell and New Zealand. And they've got, who they got ahead? They've got the Netherlands now ahead. But it's the battle behind. Really.
Did Portugal get past you? I think they might have done. Let's take a look. Oh, this was Portugal having another go.
I think they may well have done. It may well have been not the Netherlands car we were looking at, but in fact the Portuguese car. They got a better run and did good, courageous pass. I mean, again, and I'll just let you know I won't that place. And Filipe Albuquerque being rather naughty about that. He didn't need to put that move on the New Zealand car. He had gotten the position, but he wanted to make sure it was a firm pass.
Well, good aggressive stuff from Albuquerque. And Jonny Reid, look, still, even if he is where he is now, still just takes second for New Zealand, but he cannot afford to lose another place. Italy are the next
he's got
one.
a problem. I thought the car looked a little bit unstable. He certainly slid the car on the exit of Grenville Bend. He's dropped back considerably from that Portuguese car. He only has to worry about Italy. They're a further 10 seconds back, so he's not under challenge. So he will just strive to consolidate his 8th place.
He will, that's what he needs. He cannot afford any more problems now, can Jonny Reid of New Zealand. If he wants that second place for the Kiwis, they want to back up what they had last year at least and take the runners-up position. Last year they were runners-up to Team Germany. This year they're runners-up to Team Switzerland, but over the course of the 3 seasons, New Zealand has always run up front, as has Great Britain, of course, and they're the ones that they're battling with here today. Great Britain, though, currently in second. They cannot do anything about India, and there's Narain Karthikeyan, still 1.8 seconds ahead.
And Narain Karthikeyan is after that one unforced error in Hinchcliffe. As we look at the India team, and they're hoping that this is going to be the second victory. They've got the advantage, they've got the pace. Robbie Kerr has done everything possible, but when that new set of tyres came on the India car, plus an excellent pit stop from the Team India guys on the pit lane, put him ahead in the pit lane, and for Robbie Kerr, he wasn't really able to get back onto the level that India have been running at for the last 10 laps.
No, they've driven, Narain's driven beautifully. The car looks good as well, and the great pit work. There's China attacking Switzerland for that final podium spot. China have had one podium finish so far this season. Switzerland have had plenty, but they both wanted as much as each other here, and Frankie Cheng's going to give it his all.
I don't think we're going to see a move from Frankie Cheng like we saw a moment ago from Filipe Albuquerque for Portugal. I don't think it's in Frankie Cheng's nature to be that aggressive. He's a quick driver, but he's not necessarily in A1GP the most aggressive driver out there. Whether he's prepared to shut his eyes and go for a gap which he might have to make, I somehow doubt. I think he's going to finish in 4th.
It does look like it, but we'll have to wait and see exactly what he can achieve. There are only 2 laps to go now. 2 laps remaining in the final race of A1GP Season 3, and China still pushing for a podium finish, but it's Neel Jani of Team Switzerland who's holding on to it, the new champion team, and they want to hold it if at all possible. France still running in 5th place, the Netherlands in 6th, then Portugal in 7th position. We'll have to look at the points because the battle for 10th to be the final team in the top 10 was between China, Portugal and USA, and it's still going to end up pretty close, I think, being in that top 10. Then just remember that New Zealand are running in 8th place, Italy 9th, and Indonesia still gamely holding on to 10th.
Well, that battle for the final podium position, Frankie Cheng dropping back a little bit. They've got 2 laps to go, and he's still not really shown the ability to get close enough to Switzerland to put Neel Jani under pressure. If you go back to India through Hinchcliffe, that's how it's done. That one abomination when he ran wide almost threw away what could be potentially India's second victory in a feature race in the 3rd series.
So coming around, he'll be going on to his final lap here. Narain Karthikeyan of Team India with a very useful advantage over Great Britain's Robbie Kerr. It looks as though India are heading for their second win of the season, but he's still got to complete this last lap around one of his favourite circuits in the world. He's been looking forward to this event all season long. He's been glum on occasions when they haven't managed to get the qualifying performance right, and that's something that they were lacking at some of the races. He's always known he'll be going well here.
He's still got to complete a lap. You can still get caught out, you can relax, you can think it's all over, but it isn't until you get the checkered flag. Robbie Kerr is not giving up, but the Team India team are getting prepared on the pit wall to give what are they going to give? Just fantastic drive from Narain Karthikeyan. Took the Brands Hatch Meister, Robbie Kerr and TGBR to the limit, and Robbie delivered in the sprint race, couldn't quite with that pit stop and that additional set of fresh rubber that India had. managed to get back out ahead of India.
So India now with just the last third of the lap to complete, and it looks as though former Grand Prix driver, he drove for the Jordan team. Oh, incident! Czech Republic tried to take 10th from Indonesia and end up in the gravel trap.
Well, as I say, this race isn't over till the checkered flag falls. We've got South Africa running right.
Here we go then, victory is going to go the way of Narain Karthikeyan. It's the second win of the season for A1 Team India here at Brands Hatch. Narain Karthikeyan wins from Great Britain. A fantastic second. Robbie Kerr takes second place, but it's not quite enough for Great Britain to take the runners-up spot in the championship. Switzerland a third. China a superb fourth place for Frankie Cheng. Fifth goes to France, sixth to the Netherlands, then it's Portugal, and then we should see New Zealand, who finish in eighth and narrowly hold on to the runners-up spot.
Well, great race for India. Congratulations to Narain Karthikeyan, to all the guys in Arena Motorsport who run that India team.
Let's see who's going to finish 10th. Is it going to be Indonesia? Is it going to be South Africa? They're all ganging up together here, trying to take the spot. Satrio Hermanto has not scored any points this year. Team Indonesia on for scoring the last point. Ireland trying to join in, but they're a lap down effectively. And Indonesia's surely done enough. He has. Well done to Satrio Hermanto. He takes a point. That must feel like he's won the race. And look at him punching the air. Indonesia, no points scored until the very last race of the season, but he's done it here today, and well done to him. But it's at the other end, it's India that has taken the outright victory. Narain Karthikeyan has won at Brands Hatch.
Well, what a busy race. So many things dependent on positional finishes, but New Zealand do consolidate their second position. GB almost in position to take that away, but not quite enough.
Not quite enough, but they put on a tremendous show, and Robbie Kerr, as ever, drove his heart out there to try and achieve victory. And the first part of the race worked to perfection, but India came back at them with a tremendous second pit stop and that new set of tyres that they had kept aside from qualify, from this morning when they get released another set of tyres, and it certainly worked to perfection for them. And Narain Karthikeyan drove beautifully. One little mistake that allowed Robbie Kerr to think, oh, I've got a chance to repass him, but after that India was just able to pull away again, open up the advantage, and a winning margin at the end there, just over 1 second. And Switzerland taking that final podium slot, the new champions of A1GP World Cup of Motorsport, Team Switzerland. Well, they will be able to celebrate with a third place finish in the final race of the season. Up onto the Brabham Straight has come Narain Karthikeyan. He wants to enjoy this very special moment at a circuit of which he knows so well. In fact, they're all at it. Robbie Kerr's doing donuts as well at Clearways, and they're all going to be putting on a show for the fans by the looks of things. Wonderful, wonderful images. And a few other cars going into the pit lane. Oh, and he's just touched the pit wall as Narain, I just noticed, with the rear wing. Don't think he's done too much damage. There's our new champion, of course, Neel Jani, with his podium finish. He's going to go up and have a go at Paddock Hill Bend, I think. And Robbie's now doing some lovely donuts on the start-finish line. There goes Neel Jani. On the rev emitter. These Zytec V8 engines have done their stuff over the last 3 years. But there is Neel Jani, the winner for Team Switzerland of Season 3's World Cup of Motorsport. What a special, special day it's been. And a really, really great show this is for the fans. I think that Narain Karthikeyan's actually stalled it now on the start-finish line. Away goes Neel Jani once. He really is enjoying this moment to finish off the season. He's going to have a little go up at Paddock Hill Bend. There's Robbie still at it. He's doing it one-handed. Look how good he is. Very, very good. Real Nigel Mansell stuff there. Look at that. Superb. On-board pictures as well. And away goes Robbie. And indeed, Narain Karthikeyan a little bit further behind is being pushed away by the marshals, getting a bit carried away in his exuberance. I'm sure he managed to just touch the pit wall. Robbie's going to do a bit more of it. Come round, further round towards Paddock Hill Bend. And again, one-handed donuts for the fans who have supported him here so enthusiastically, and they've seen him take a win and a second place. Not quite the victory that he would have loved, but nonetheless, it's lovely to see him performing for the fans and just getting into it and showing what they can do. So, let's go and hear from Team India now. Andy Seagull, the seat holder for Team India, present here today to see them take victory.
Andy, we can see just how much that meant to all of the team. Congratulations.
Great stuff, good stuff. I mean, Narain just drove the wheels off that car. The boys did a great engineering stop, and I mean, it's a dream come true to finish the season on a high. good luck for next year, and I hope we can keep it up next year. Over to you.
Thanks, Andy.
Well, indeed, what a way to end a season. There's nothing better than winning the final race. It really does boost you going into the preparations that are necessary for the next championship. There is Narain Karthikeyan then, and it looks as though they might need to actually tow that car back. The confirmation of the result: India win from Great Britain and Switzerland. China a superb fourth ahead of France, the Netherlands and Portugal. A feisty drive from Filipe Albuquerque, but Jonny Reid for New Zealand did just enough to hold second in the points for the nation. Italy 9th, Indonesia with their first point of the season in 10th, ahead of South Africa, USA and Ireland. Brazil and the Czech Republic, then Mexico, Canada, Lebanon, Germany out of the race sadly. So was Faraz Fauzi of Malaysia, and also retirements for Adnan Khan of Pakistan and John Martin of Australia.
Champions. Second place goes to New Zealand. Third and final podium spot is GBR's. So close, they lose out by just a single point.